What's up, traders? We've got a very special, it's like an emergency podcast maybe here, boys. It's a really cool learning moment that Lawrence and I and Thomas and I can come together on and share with you guys. This concept of forced recovery versus voluntary recovery as a trader is just not being discussed anywhere. And Thomas, who is in the Black Shirt Club with me, just went through a moment of forced recovery and is seeing the value in it. So I was like, okay, you're coming out of it now, feeling good. Let's get Lawrence on the call, talk about this concept that he introduced me to, which Lawrence, you just said you got from your coach, and maybe let's get this out to the masses. So boys, thanks for doing this. Lawrence, let's just kick it off, buddy. Like we did the podcast together. Everybody knows you. Thomas, you've been on stream. So I think we just go right into it here. You said this is kind of like the cycle that your coach said you go through.
Yeah. So me and her, we pretty much had to sit down during one of our sessions. We have like these 90-minute long sessions, right? And so at that time, I literally just blew up a few of my top step accounts. And so she was like, okay, so walk me through it. What happens? Everything. Give me the big picture. So I told her that, okay, well, according to my journaling, there's this thing where I will go through a blowout, right? Right. So I'll blow an account right here, as you can see, and then it will cause so much emotional, like trauma and mental turmoil that I have to take a break. Like I'm just so disappointed in myself. I feel horrible. I don't even want to look at the charts right now. So I have to take a break. This is what we call forced recovery, right? Where it's 1 to 2 weeks, no trading. And once you start to touch grass and you realize that life is life beyond trading and you actually have a decent life, right? After this break, then you return to trading, calm, detached, focused. And this is where my best performance is right here, right? Where I pretty much, to be candid, I don't give a fuck about the outcome. I don't even care no more. Like I just reset. I'm in a good mood and I don't care, right? Like this is where I reach my flow state when I'm detached, when I'm calm. And so as I'm detached and I'm calm and I don't care about the outcome, fresh slate, reset my mind. The more I trade, the more I slowly grow an attachment to the trades. The more I invest myself, the more I trade, the more I encounter losses, the more I'm more emotionally involved in that attachment starts to creep back in. And then guess what? I go back to the blowout phase. Now, the thing about this is there are 3 out of 4 of these stages are okay. This is the only one that's not okay. So how do we get rid of the blowout stage? We take this forced recovery break from blowing out and being mentally drained and our mental capacity is down to zero. We take this and instead of being forced, we make it a voluntary thing. So we just have to remove the blowout piece, right? Slowly, like pretty much like your attachment slowly creeps back in. And once you feel these certain signals, and you got to know yourself well enough. Like for me, for example, when my losers start to make me angry and frustrated, then I know that I'm reaching my mental capacity and I need to take a break before I blow out. So you have to know yourself well enough to know these little emotional signals that you're getting. Because I know when I return to trading and I'm detached, I will face losses and I don't care. But the moment I start to slowly attach back to those trades and the outcome, that's when those losses start to make me mad. And that's my signal to skip the blowout phase. And I need to voluntarily like put myself into that recovery phase.
It's like a very interesting concept, right, Thomas?
Yeah.
Like
No,
it makes a lot of sense. It's just not talked about.
it
Mhm.
makes 100% sense. And my question for you, Lawrence, is with the voluntary recovery break, does that always have to be the maximum period? Or sometimes when you catch yourself, you can kind of have a shorter break because we'll go into what happened with me. And I wish I could have had that short voluntary break instead of a full-on forced recovery.
Right. So to answer your question, yeah, like the thing is, you have to know yourself well enough, Thomas. You got to know yourself well enough. And that goes through extensive journaling. That is, and I always tell my traders this, right? You need to know what conditions, what events, and what actions that you take or go through that trigger you. Okay. So once you identify what market conditions, like for example, for me, one thing that triggers me is that if I'm in a trade and price makes it to 90% to my profit target, and then it turns around and stops me out, that's when I start to get triggered and I get upset. And I'm like, okay, now I need to start to take a break because I'm getting angry now. Like these are emotional signals. Your emotions are just like There's signals to tell you what something's going on and something is bothering you, and they're trying to protect you from something, right? And you have to do enough journaling as to why you feel this way. So, like, why am I angry? I'm angry because I was 90% of the way there. My hopes are up, my expectations are up. Oh, this is a winner, guaranteed. I'm right there, right next door. And then next thing you know, it crashes out and I get stopped out and I lost. And I'm like, bro, I was right there. It's almost like the casino effect. You hit the slot machine, next thing you know, 7-7, random. And then
Yep.
like 2 out of 3, and now you want to hit it again. Now you want to overtrade, hit it again, hit it again. I was almost there. And that's what that is. You have to know yourself well enough. You got to know it's discretionary. You got to know yourself well enough. You got to know your triggers. You got to know what emotions come out based on what conditions, what events, and what actions that you take on the charts.
What's the time usually for the people that you've introduced this to? What's the
Mhm.
time they need in voluntary recovery to prevent this negative spiral?
5 days is good, including weekends. So
Like take a
Wednesday,
week.
Thursday, Friday, and then
Yeah.
Saturday and Sunday automatically. So 5 days is good.
And then you thinking like even after good days, bad days, doesn't matter. The idea is know yourself well enough, figure yourself out through the journaling. So you know, once a month I should take a break. Once every other
Yeah.
month I should take a break. Once a quarter, or maybe even for some people, would you say, is it based on like, hey, you just took 3 payouts this month. Let's take a week off to start next month. Come in a little slower. Like, what's the thought there?
Yeah. Yeah. So absolutely. So we're only touching on one half of this, right?
Right.
Like Thomas, we're only talking about the blowout phase, right? But one thing is we have to do the same thing with the blowout phase that we do when we start with the payout phase, like where everything is amazing, a big green month, like with Randy. Randy was saying, like, man, I had a phenomenal month last month, and now this month I'm starting to see a little bit of friction with my results, and I'm in a little bit of drawdown here. And I told him, I was like, okay, you have to do the same thing with your winners in those big green months than you do with your losers. So overall, as trading is a performance-based activity, recovery is the number one thing and the most important thing. So when you get these big payouts and when you have these crazy green months, you need to implement a break at this point. Because at this point, your ego is rising. You feel like you can't miss, right? You're Kobe, right? And then over here, you got this blowout phase where you're just mentally exhausted, capacity is at zero. You need to go outside and you forget how great life really is, right? So both of these extremes need a balance. So putting in scheduled breaks in that recovery phase voluntarily will help balance all of those before the market balances out for you.
And Thomas, I'm sure this is making you think about the time you went to Norway, right?
Dude, I mean, yeah, that was so it was I've had two real breaks in my trading, and it was Norway and then this last month. And after Norway, I came back, passed my first or like took my first payout after that break. And
Yep.
then now after this most recent break, I'm like I've set myself up with such a new like different plan that I was having prior that I'm like I'm really excited to be back on the desk. Like I have a lot of energy and motivation to be doing this, whereas before I just felt myself just being drained every day after getting off the desk.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot to talk about, like with inside the forced recovery, what you're thinking about and how to best utilize it. Because like I was at the point where I could not sit at the desk for another day. I was fed up with my trading. I was fed up with myself. I was fed up with the situation I was in. And like I physically could not take it anymore. My body was rejecting
Mm.
being at the desk. And so I took that period to be like, okay, I know this is my body telling me I got to do something, I got to change something, but just that break itself is not enough to change something. So it was during the break, what I'm thinking about, what I'm doing, how I'm getting
Mhm.
back in, just like I love to use the word like proper habits as a human. Like there's like, being a high performer, there's certain things that you should be doing every day to make sure your mindset is cultivated to be thinking about the right things. And for me, it was actually a lot about getting my like outside financial situation under control and in like getting some more like 'cause I just moved and all sorts of things. So I just had to get some stability again with that. And that was really what was throwing off my trading. And it took that forced break for me to even identify that to begin with.
Mhm.
So like the break was so beneficial because it helped me identify what the problem in my trading was. And then I took another week to figure out, okay, how am I gonna like what am I gonna do about this? And how can I actually make an impactful change?
It's interesting when you see the people that probably, see the title of the video or the thumbnail or whatever, and they clicked on this, they were probably a little bit confused of like, what are these guys going to talk about? But then when you break this down, it is so simple, right? It's such a simple idea, especially the athlete analogy. And I think, Thomas, you're a good example of this, and I'm sure there's listeners of this. As you grow as a trader, your bandwidth grows. Lawrence, am I wrong to think that you might not need the break as often, or you might not need as many breaks as the years go on?
Yeah, as the years go on, your endurance is going to continue to like grow because you're
Right.
learning yourself and you know how to, even certain actions such as sizing down, right? That can actually help replenish like your mental capacity. So yeah, as you get older in the trading game, right? You know yourself, you know where your mental capacity is, your endurance grows. There's no difference between this and like working out because I know that we all can agree trading is mentally taxing. It really is. So you just at the end of the day, you know how to catch your second wind, you know how to stretch your breath, right? Like any performance-based athlete, anybody who's a pro, they'll know when to sprint, and they'll know when to jog, they'll know when to walk. When you see those soccer players, they're on that fucking field running for like 90 minutes. They're not sprinting the entire time. They're pacing themselves. So that endurance, that's what that endurance is, and it's the same thing here.
I didn't pace myself at tennis, and I puked. I don't know if you saw my
That's
Instagram
what I was
story.
going to go into. I think tennis is such a good analogy because it's like it's like trading. It's a single game sport or like a single person sport, and it's you on the field. And yesterday I was watching some highlights from the female final, and the game was not over. The tiebreak was not over, but I could see it in her eyes that she had given up
Yep.
after one of the
You
points.
always can tell in tennis,
You
bro. You can always
Exactly.
tell.
But it's like it's the same thing in trading where your mindset is just as important. As soon as those negative thoughts creep in, you've
No,
already
so I mean,
lost.
bro, in the men's final, Carlos had 3 opportunities to lose. He should have just lost one of those 3 points and he was done. But something in his brain, he still believed in himself. And then he wins those 3 points. And then the next rest of the match is his. He wins the rest of the thing and wins the whole thing. Like that was the moment Sinner in his mind gave up and Carlos won just from that 3 points. It was crazy. So yeah, it's a great analogy because you can see how much belief powers everything that we do. So if you burn out, like we're talking about, if you burn to that point of blowout, nobody performs well at that point. So all of the things that we're talking about is like trying to prevent blowout. Any other tips that you would say go into this, Lawrence, of like prioritizing voluntary recovery and preventing forced recovery?
Yeah. I think that we pretty much said it all here, man. I think I can, further emphasize on how important journaling during your trades are and learning your triggers. Like that is the most key thing here. Like what really pisses you off or what really makes you, I guess, sad,
Yeah.
right? So what invokes that anger and what invokes that sadness, what events, what conditions, what actions that you're doing. And once you realize that and you grow that awareness, then you can know what's causing that I guess that taxation, like
Or
that
that
big
swing away from
yeah,
where you
that
want
big
to be.
swing.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
And
Yeah.
it's like the journaling in the day is good, but journaling even intra trade in your
It's
trade,
best. I
it's the
think it's
best thing.
best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even
And
seeing
it's
you
so
when
simple.
we jump on Fridays, when we jump on Fridays and I see you do that
Oh, I
during
know
the
you get
trade,
hard, bro.
bro,
You're like,
I get turned on, bro. Like fucking
I love
Austin,
that, bro.
bro.
Yeah, no, but you know what? It's funny. It's one of them same situations of like physical fitness. The simple things will get you a long way.
Yeah.
Walking will get you a long way, right? But people still won't do it. Markups will get you a long way. Chart study and studying your emotional reactions. I've been telling people, you'll like this, Lawrence. I tell people when we're dealing with like position sizing and teaching people how to manage different position sizes and trail stops, I have them marking the exact candle of where they want to do something. I had Thomas do this. I'm like,
Ooh.
right where you want to get out of the trade because your impatience is bothering you, or you think right where you want to lock the stop, start marking that exact candle and just start
Hmm.
studying if it would be a good decision or a bad decision. Just track that in TradeZella. It's easy. And
I
you'd be
never thought of that.
and it's very interesting to see how many people, like
Oh.
even myself, today I took myself out of the long and we could still be in it. Like you'll find you will be your own worst enemy. And the more you
Mhm.
journal, the more you see that, the easier it does get to not always trust that. You know what I mean? Trust
Yeah.
the system over trust yourself sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's a mental blind spot right there. I was actually
for sure.
there's this book. Let me see if I have it right here.
We
Actually,
know
I
you
do.
don't read, Lawrence. Stop playing.
Man, come on, bro.
Come on,
That's what I
man.
do for a living.
What is this?
So, Trade Mindfully by Gary Dayton. Achieve your optimum trading performance with mindfulness and cutting edge psychology. So basically, this guy, Gary Dayton, what he pretty much talks about is mental blind spots. So it's like cognitive bias, recency bias, and with a mental blind spot, all it is creating things that have not even occurred yet, right? Like,
Right.
why did you circle that candle that you started losing confidence and conviction
Right.
in your trading? Nothing happened. Like, you
Nothing
just
happened.
making up events
Making up
in your
stuff. Yeah.
mind.
We do it
So
all the time.
yeah, yeah, man. So that's a good book on that.
Good rec. Thomas,
Yeah.
thanks for being a guinea pig as always, buddy. Lawrence,
Yeah,
thank you for
absolutely.
for
And
being
just to
Professor Lawrence.
piggyback
Yeah,
off
good.
Lawrence and,
Please.
and
Yeah.
finish with one more thing is
Yeah.
just to re-emphasize that there's going to be times where the break is just needed just because it's a burnout and you just need some time away from the charts. But in my case, there's going to be times where there's really something else in your life affecting your trading, and it's so important to identify that and correct it before coming back to the desk. If I had come back to the desk before correcting it, I would not be in the position where I am today. So like don't forget about that, and don't overlook that part of the voluntary enforced breaks.
Yeah,
Very
for
well
sure.
said.
Back test. Ease back into it.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely. And I
yeah.
mean,
Ease
like,
back into it.
people listening to this, if you stayed all the way through the video, comment below. Tell us how long you're going to take a break for coming up.
Yeah.
Hopefully before your next blowout, but maybe once you blow out again, as we all inevitably have. How long are you going to hold yourself to just stepping away from your trading to reset and come back better? So, Lawrence, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you always.
Thanks, man.
Insightful,
It's always a pleasure.
knowledgeable, the wisdom, bro. Always.
Yeah.
And like I said, Thomas, you the man. Everybody, for watching all the way through, I'll put their links down in the description. Make sure you connect with the boys. We appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next video.